It still says not record. Oh, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Career Cardinals podcast, or Cardinal Careers Podcast. I am Mac Watt. We have Barbara Fouts, Heidi Nunez, and Margaret Stacy Duffy. And today we'll be talking about commonly asked questions that we've been receiving. So one of the first questions that we wanted to talk about today was one of the most common, which is it too late to find an internship? So let's talk about it. What do you guys think?
Well, I can jump in with that answer because it's one of the most common questions that I'm getting from students. And the answer is no, it's not too late to land a summer internship. There are still wonderful opportunities on Handshake for really, it seems like pretty much any student interest. So my recommendation would be to really go into Handshake, sort of dig into the different types of opportunities, as well as using Handshake to network with your peers. Like that's one of the cool things that Handshake really has to offer, because students think about it as sort of an internship and job search platform. But you can find students in your major, you can connect with them to see maybe where they interned and ask them, about opportunities, what their experience was like. But it isn't too late to find an internship, And I have some additional ideas about if you're starting your search now. But I also wanted to open it up to see if Margaret or anybody else or Heidi had any ideas. Is it too late to find an internship?
No, honestly, Barbara, my next question here was that the next common question I get from students is, where do I find it? So yeah, I think that would be a great segue to, your comments around the launching the job search or the internship search.
So the first place that we would recommend that you start searching for internships is on Handshake. It really allows you to put in the parameters, the filters, what you're looking for. If you're interested in a remote internship for the summer, you can search for remote positions, or you can search for paid positions. So Handshake is your best friend when you're really looking for an internship. The other platform that I recommend that you use is LinkedIn, because there's many opportunities available on LinkedIn. So in between the combination of using LinkedIn and Handshake, you're going to be able to find just many things that are of interest to you. I think the other piece, though, is a way to find internships is through networking. And that is where you can reach out to your peers. You can reach out to the really amazing North Central Alumni Network and talk with them about their career path, because networking is something that really, it's never too late to be able to do that and to connect with someone where you may have a common interest or a career path. And the biggest, stumbling block for a lot of students is just getting started, So just sort of leap in and start with the search. And if you're not really sure where to start, you can always schedule an appointment with a member of the career development staff, because we can walk you through that and know that there isn't any judgment. If maybe you're coming a little bit late to the game, no worries, no shame. It's just here to get you started and to help you find that meaningful career.
I think that's great. And I just wanted to add a couple little tidbits or tips when you're searching for those internships on Handshake, as Barb mentioned. The first is to check back often. Just because you don't see something today, there's internships and positions being posted literally every day. So check back again. And this goes for probably any job search platform, but I can speak specifically to Handshake, and that's definitely the case. And then another thing, Barb mentioned those filters. And what I wanted to just share is to use them really wisely, and don't just come up with all of the filters that you'd ever want and then leave it at that. I think it's worth it to try different things. Maybe if you're looking for, say, an HR internship, check the box that says an HR major and then see what comes up. And then uncheck it and type in human resources in the search bar, see what comes up. Just wanted to give some insight. If technology worked perfectly, they'd all show up exactly if you check the correct box. But sometimes some go missing or labeled differently. So just wanted to give you a couple really quick techniques that might allow for more things to show up. But yeah, the more filters you have on, the less options you'll have. So just wanted to provide that as a little tip.
And since we're on that topic, I think we've talked a few times in these podcasts around the importance of having a complete profile. Mm-hmm. And this is another area where it's important for you to make sure that you are completing your profile and including information around your career interests, making sure that you've selected your major, making sure that you've identified maybe if there are particular cities that you're interested in, and let these platforms do some of the work for you, right? So going back to Margaret's point around trying different things, let the algorithm make some suggestions for you, and then you can tweak it a little bit to see if there are things that are particularly interesting to you. Maybe double down on those and add more skills in those areas, or add a couple of courses. I'm talking about Handshake in particular. Add a couple of courses, classes that you've taken, projects that you've done, so that you can get a little bit closer to the types of recommendations that you want to be seeing on your dashboard. And as I'm talking about profiles, yes, it'll help your recommended jobs be a little bit more relevant to what you're looking for. But if you then go and make your completed profile public, then you can be included in some of the searches that employers are doing in Handshake, and you could perhaps be discovered by an employer and requested to apply for a particular position. So at this point, if you are looking for an internship or a post-graduation job, in my opinion, it's critical that you have a complete profile, that you've included your resume, that you've included a bio in your profile, and that you've made your profile public.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I feel like I've really covered the internships and what to do and what to look for them. So we, to kind of follow up on that, we had a question in the opposite spectrum of what if you can't find that summer research or internship? What should be something that you can do to continue to strengthen your resume and profile?
I'll answer this question from one perspective. I know that Barb, you have you want to talk in general around perhaps alternative plans, but I do want to address the topic of if you are unable to find an internship, research position, or something that's directly related to your intended outcome. This could be a time for you to think about your landing pad, right? If you did not find at this point, or I'm sure you're probably still in the search, but this is a good time for you to start thinking about what are some of the opportunities that are going to get you closer. And usually I like to ask students to think about a couple of things. Are there opportunities in the environment that you want to work with? So for example, if you want to work in a school setting, in a community organization, in a corporate office, are there opportunities for you to be in that environment, even if you're not doing the day-to-day task or function that you want to ultimately end up doing? That in and of itself is going to be great experience, and it's going to look great on your resume. In the opposite direction, Are you able to find opportunities where you are doing the function and the day-to-day task, but it's in a different environment, right? So what are some of the ways that you can get yourself closer? For many people, it's perhaps working with a population or an area of interest, right? So getting experience or exposure to those. Again, even if it's not the actual task or function that you want to be doing. So let's just say you want to work with, you want to be a teacher. At this point, you want to get some exposure working with children, even if it's at an after-school program, in a camp setting, or something like that. So try to think about ways that you can get closer to bolster either the environment, the day-to-day function, or the population or the interest area that you want, with which you want to have some experience on your resume.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, explanation, I think, for students to sort of think about. And, there's really two things that I would add. To support that, I think volunteer opportunities, can be meaningful ways to spend your summer. So just like what Heidi is saying, is that finding what maybe your interest is or how it is that you want to help. Oftentimes, when students are sort of thinking about, like, what do I want to do with my major? I ask students, like, well, what's meaningful to you? How do you want to make an impact? What are maybe some of the issues that you'd like to work on? And you can do that as a volunteer, sort of thinking about, like, what's an organization that might be meaningful to you, or how do you want to help that organization? Can you take on a project? All of those types of activities can be something that you add to your resume. And just like what I had mentioned before with networking, that's still a wonderful way to sort of use some of your summer. And there's really two ways of networking. There's always that sort of serendipity type of networking, where you can sort of be standing in the grocery line and you meet somebody, who has a company logo, hoodie on. You're like, oh, you work for, Nalco Water or something like that. You can sort of connect with them and talk to them. And then there's sort of that strategic networking where you're very intentional, where you're looking for the North Central alums or individuals with your industry. So networking is a great way to learn about a career path. You can find out advice, or even talk to somebody who's in an industry and share, I haven't been able to locate an internship. What else would you recommend? How can I continue to be competitive, because this is where I want to land? So there's really, multiple things that you can do if you're not able to secure an internship or maybe a summer research opportunity.
I wanted to chime in there too, just around part-time work, because beyond volunteering and getting into your industry area, part-time work is incredibly valuable if you're focused on the skills development. Talk often about career competencies and the types of skills that we know are transferable to other settings. So even if you have part-time employment in retail, part-time employment in summer camps, right? Part-time employment as a, I don't know, I'm trying to think about like a youth program or something, right?
Summer camp counselor.
Yes, all of these part-time job experiences are incredibly valuable to developing your professionalism, your work ethic, your ability to work in a team, your ability to follow instructions, and then a whole bunch of other skills depending on your role, right? Critical thinking or problem solving if you're in retail or working with young people. What else? Digital technology in some cases. So even thinking about part-time employment, if you're intentional and thinking about the skills that you're developing, and perhaps taking that opportunity to ask your employer, is there a particular project that you can take on? Is there a particular area that you can lead or grow into? Can you shadow people and network there? that summer employment can be incredibly valuable to you if you're intentional and use it wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to add on one more idea to the long list of alternatives, because clearly there's a ton. The one other small idea, and I don't think this would fill your entire summer, of course, but something to keep in mind is teaching yourself skills. Maybe you didn't get that research position, but you know you really want to go into research the next year or as a full-time job or into grad school. Maybe it'd be a great idea to see if you could teach yourself Excel. Like, see if there's a webinar you could attend, or I'm sure, heck, there's probably tons of great resources online. There's YouTube, LinkedIn Learning I've talked about, but just developing those skills. That's something that I think can be really helpful with if someone said, how did you spend your summer? And you said, well, I taught myself how to use SPSS, or I decided I wanted to get used to Adobe Photoshop, or, developing even digital technology skills like that could also be a really great use of your time.
Awesome. So we have covered two biggest questions we've had so far. So that leads us into another question that we've had, which is gap years and how to use them effectively. So what do you guys think? What would be the best ways to make a gap year effective?
Well, I want to address one part of this question first before we get into how to make it effective. And it's the coming to the decision to take a gap year. So one thing I wanted to address is if you're feeling like you need to take a gap year because there's a narrative out there that maybe that there aren't jobs available, or that there aren't internships available, or this is not a good time in the job market, I just wanted to share some information around the fact that, not discouraging, I'm not necessarily discouraging the gap year, but I want to dispel a myth or a narrative that I know is potentially out there that this is not a good time to be searching for jobs. As Margaret shared earlier, there are jobs being uploaded into Handshake and approved into Handshake every day. So if it is your intention to have an internship, if it is your intention to go into full-time employment after graduation, I just wanted to encourage students to consider that that is still an option. Just I wanted to put that out there. The employers are hiring, jobs are available. The market is still steady for the college educated candidate. And with that, how to find gap year opportunities. What is a gap year opportunity? How do you make the most of it? That's a whole nother segment there. I'll leave that to you too.
Yeah, that is definitely a really good question. And so when we think about a gap year, oftentimes what I'll hear students say is, well, I'm going to take a year off. And really, that isn't, really traditionally what is considered a gap year. A gap year is when there is that break between maybe your undergraduate and graduate and professional school, but the intention is to engage in activities that are going to help you grow professionally, academically, or even personally. So I like to think about a gap year as a year of opportunity or a year of experience. And so that's a really nice way to talk about it, and to sort of reframe it, because you're going to be engaging in activities that are meaningful. They're going to help you with whatever your next step is. So those gap year opportunities can be traveling, they can be additional, maybe, information interviews or shadowing, or one of those, a part-time job, or maybe you want to, travel abroad. Those gap year opportunities are really unique for each student. So there isn't just one type of gap year. It's always thinking about sort of, what do I want to do where I'm going to continue to grow? But at the same time, it is giving you a break. It is allowing you maybe that time to become better prepared, and maybe a stronger applicant for a graduate or professional school program. And then it's being intentional in the activities that you want to pursue.
I had a couple thoughts. First, I wanted to just kind of plug a commonly known, specifically gap year opportunity, and there's a few of these in Handshake already, is the AmeriCorps program. And that's, if folks have heard of the Peace Corps, this is kind of the domestic version of it. And yeah, we know students who have done it. I know a few that are currently finishing up a year, and there's lots of different programs. If you're interested in education or conservation, research, I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities, and there's some even local, so or far away, within the United States, but lots of cool opportunities. So definitely check that out if you're interested in like a very structured type of a gap year program where you do it for the whole year and it's 1 year. Another thing I wanted to mention, and I'm not sure if I'm making this up or not, but I wonder too if students think that if they need a break maybe between undergrad and then applying for jobs. I just wanted to plug that it's not like there's you must apply for jobs in the spring. So it's an option to maybe you spend the summer doing something and then decide, okay, I'm going to start my job search seriously in the fall. And I'm not sure if students have that in their minds or if that's a misconception or not, but just wanted to say it's not like you have to spend a year. If you really just want to take a few months off to go get some experience or to travel and then really buckle down and look for that next experience or that full-time job, just wanted to plug that. That said, if professional school or graduate school is the next thing for you, that is cyclical in nature and will likely start in the fall season, and graduate or the application processes, definitely important to keep an eyeball on when those are for each program you might be applying to. So
I wanted to mention one other quick thing here, because in previous podcast episodes, we talked about the very common experience of a student realizing a little bit later in their college career that they discovered a new interest or another career opportunity that they would like to take on. And just wanted to share that this is oftentimes post-graduation an opportunity to maybe take on a certificate program or something like that that will help you get into this newly discovered career path for you, or to prepare for a graduate school application as well. So oftentimes, taking on maybe a part-time role to discover a new skill or develop a new skill, or taking on an additional class maybe at a community college to develop that Excel skill or develop social media skills or something like that. Because you realize that what you want to do has a particular skill that you want to develop in order to be competitive for the role. So I think that's another great way for you to think about the summer or the year after graduation as well.
Absolutely. Do you guys have anything else? It looks like we covered our main questions that we had. Do you guys have anything else before we wrap up?
I think one last message from me, I think consistently we keep hearing from students, we're generally feeling like they're behind, or they haven't done enough, or everyone else is so far ahead of them. And, we in career development talk often, and Barb was just mentioning before we started recording here, is that this has absolutely been a very unusual year. And when we talk with all of you one-on-one, more often than not, there is a realization that you're exactly where you need to be, and you're taking all the right steps, and you're not behind, and you're doing the things that you need to do. Perhaps we need to fast track a little bit so that we can get you on the timeline for hiring, but I just wanted to share a general note of positivity to share with students that opportunity is still there. You have been doing all the right things with even listening in on this podcast to make sure that you are ready for the next step and staying on top of classes and developing the skills. However, we can support you in getting your materials together and making sure that you're finding those opportunities. We're here for you in career development.
Awesome. So that sounds like we are going to wrap up today. So this has been another episode of the Cardinal Careers Podcast. Thank you.